Lanka, and he built a high-tech city called Lanka, which was full of gold and emeralds and jewels and diamonds. It was an amazing city, and he was able to do this because of his supernatural powers. And he was called a Rakshasa. Rakshasa are man-eating beings. Just like nowadays you have people that eat hamburgers, and they take some meat and they put it in between two pieces of bread and eat it. Well, but Rakshasas like Ravana, they're able to eat human burgers. They put a human being between two buns and they eat it. So you see, there were very dangerous people like that on the earth in the time of Lord Ramachandra. And these demons, they come from higher planets than the Earth. They come from the asteroids, which are between the Earth and Mars. Just like even today, you have people like Elon Musk that want to, with their SpaceX rockets, they want to go to the asteroids and collect precious metals and bring them back to the Earth. Of course, they're never going to be able to do that. Anyway, now Elon Musk is going crazy by smoking too many drugs. So he'll never be able to do what he claims he's going to do. But anyway, these Rakshasas, they inhabited the earth in the time of Lord Ramachandra, and they were causing havoc all over the place. And by building a tunnel through from Lanka to Brazil, they completely breaks the equilibrium of the Earth in its planet. And so at one time the Earth fell down into the Garbhodak Ocean. And and Krishna appeared in his special incarnation as a boar. And he went all the way down into the Garbhodak Ocean and lifted up the Earth on its tusks and put it back in its orbit. So you might believe this, you might not believe it, but this actually happened. And today, when we see with all this massive oil being taken out of the crust of the Earth, it could in some way influence the Earth in its orbit going around the sun. So anyway, the Hiranyakashipu, being a demon, he did severe tapasya for 125 years, standing on his toes. He was naked. He was standing on his toes with his arms stretched up toward the sky and stayed like that for 125 years. It's a very severe tapasya. And at one point, he became so powerful that the whole universe was shaking. And Lord Brahma came and he said, look, stop this terrible sacrifice or tapasya that you're doing. What is it that you want? And Hiranyakashipu, at that point, he had been 125 years standing in that position, and a gigantic anthill built up on his body, and the ants ate almost all of his flesh. So he was standing there basically without any flesh or blood, but he was still alive because he was a type of mystic yogi. And when Brahma came, he made his body whole again. And he told him, look, stop this. What is it that you want, that you're doing such a severe austerity? And Hiranyakashipu said, I want to be Amara. I want to be eternal. And Brahma said, well, look, I can't give you something that I don't have. I myself am not eternal. Brahma, like us, is a jiva, a part and parcel of Krishna. And he is not, he's a devata, but he's not God. And but this is an example to us what our potential is. he's a person like us, but who has perfected himself by practicing Krishna consciousness. He's not completely perfect because he's still in the material world, and he still has a desire to dominate things. So therefore, because he's so pious, he was given the position of Brahma, the secondary creator of the material universe. So you see, we are dumbed down by modern education. The educational system in this country and in India also is based on atheistic humanism, and it teaches us to be very limited in our expectations of life. Now, how is that? Well, atheism claims that there is no God, there's no spiritual world, there's nothing after death, and so they limit us to one lifetime, and in that lifetime it doesn't last more than 60 or 80 years, maybe 90 years, and there's nothing after death, there is no God, there's no spiritual world, and therefore we are limited to just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like animals, and then dying. So therefore people think, well, I'm going to have only a short one lifetime duration, so I may as well use it for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like an animal. And the main thing that happens is that people become addicted to sex. And this is what's going on in this world today. Most of the people in the world don't believe that there's God. They don't believe they have an eternal soul. They believe that they just have this body, and there's only making money that counts, because when you make money, then you can buy a lot of different gadgets and cars and houses and properties, and you can eat, sleep, and mate, and defend. So that's how dangerous this modern education is. This was not the original culture of India. And normally, in ancient times, people believed that there's God. People believed that they could attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death if they followed Sanatana Dharma, or the principles of avoiding sinful activity and engaging in activities of devotion and love for God. And therefore, people lived very simple lives. They lived in self-sufficient villages. They were happy. They would have sometimes 3, 4, maybe even 5 generations of their family living in their family neighborhood, and all working together cooperatively. And people were happy. They had simple lives. They didn't have to import anything. They didn't need industries. They did not need cars. And India was a very rich country at that time, or Bharat was a very, very rich country. How do we know that? Well, why did Alexander the Great try and invade India and take it over? Why did the Muslims invade India and try and take it over? Why did the British invade India and try and take it over? Because it was a rich country. Everyone was trying to go to India. What was Christopher Columbus looking for? He was looking for a new way to get to India by crossing the Atlantic Ocean. See? And what did he discover, though? He discovered the West Indies. But he was looking actually for a different way to go to India. So you see, all these people were trying to come to India because they knew that India was a very rich country. Now, after 800 years of Muslim rule and 200 years of British rule, and before that being partially conquered by Alexander the Great, the Greek, India was almost ruined by all these invasions and robbed of a lot of its wealth. And also, the people who were very dedicated to Sanatana Dharma, they began to fall away up until today from their original culture. And it's getting even worse now than even before. So we see how modern education, so-called science, so-called industrialization has ruined the Vedic culture. And people are not happy. They're suffering. And they die young, usually. You only live a certain number of years. There's so many diseases. There's COVID. There's war. There's all kinds of miseries in this life. Like, for example, if you look at these three panels here, you'll see something very interesting. The first panel is explaining in the yellow little boxes all the right decisions you can make to be happy and prosperous and go back to Godhead. And then the gray panels, boxes there, are all the wrong decisions you can make in life so that you end up miserable and self-destructive. And then in the middle panel, you'll see that 5,000 years ago, Krishna instructed people not to eat meat, not to gamble, not to engage in illicit sex, and not to take intoxication. But 5,000 years later, those four things are an integral part of American culture today. And these are the statistics of what happens when people eat meat, gamble, have illicit sex, and take intoxicants. You have what's called a massive number of people that are killing themselves. If you look at intoxication, there's almost 1 million people a year that overdose on drugs in this country. The statistics are worse for India than for the United States. There are more people dying of drugs there. There are more people dying of illicit sex. There are more people dying because you have all these venereal diseases. You have more people dying of eating meat, because of that, getting cancer and heart attacks and high blood pressure and all these things. So, and then gambling, people ruin their lives by gambling. So those are the factual numbers of what's going on every year in this country. And the last panel is the solution to this problem. So unless we wake up, especially Fijian people, you all came from India, and you all came with the culture of India, but living with the Fijians and learning how to take, what's the name of their drug there? Huh? Kava kava, you become dumb. You become ignorant. You're ruining your whole culture by doing that, right? And also eating meat. I mean, Indians never ate meat. They never smoked. They never took intoxicants. But they've learned these things by associating with the Muslims, now associating with the Fijians and others. They've learned all these bad habits, and it's ruining their lives. They die younger now, and they have bad health. Why is this? Because they left their culture. So our purpose in Krishna consciousness is to bring people back to their original culture. And that culture is not about making money. It's about living a sattvic life and attaining liberation from the cycle of birth and death. This birth, death, old age, and disease, these are artificial impositions on us. We all have an eternal soul. We all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. But if we think that there's no God, and there's only this body, and there's only matter, then we become what you would call a Vishayi in Sanskrit, a sense gratifier, and you become very misfortunate in this life. You die young, you suffer sicknesses, especially, why is there so much diabetes and high blood pressure and cancer in India? It's because Indians are no longer really vegetarians. There's only 25% of the Hindus that are vegetarians now. 75% are not vegetarian. They eat meat on a regular basis, you see. So this is violation of Sanatana Dharma. When you violate the rules of nature established by Krishna, you suffer unnecessarily. It's completely unnecessary to suffer like that. So Krishna consciousness is all about going back to the original culture, where people lived in peace, they were happy, they understood that their potential is to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead where they came from. So today we're hearing about Nrsingadev, who came specifically to save Prahlad Maharaj, who was his devotee, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, that yada yada hi dharma that Krishna comes every time there is a uh, uh, a rise of impious activity and a lot of demons that are populating the earth. And then number two, he comes to deliver his devotees and to reestablish the principles of religion. So in the time of Prahlad and that situation was taking place. And so Krishna appeared in a special incarnation to save Prahlad from the onslaught of his father. His father wanted to kill his son, who was only 5 years old, because his son was naturally a devotee. Now, how did he become a devotee? Well, when Hiranyakashipu was performing his tapasya for 125 years, the Devatas kidnapped his wife, and his wife was pregnant at that time. And they were going to kill her because they were afraid that if his son, Hiranyakashipu's son, was born, he'd be even worse than the father. But Narada Muni came and stopped him from doing that. And he said, you cannot kill her or the baby because the baby is a devotee. And they said, well, how do you know that? He said, well, I'm Narada Muni. I know a lot of more things than you guys that just watch television and watch watch football with your baseball hat on backwards, eating a hamburger and drinking beer. You see, that's what demons do. They eat meat, they drink beer, they watch the Super Bowl, and basically waste their life doing nonsense. So he said, look, I know things you don't know. So he stopped them, and he took Kuladri, or Hiranyakashipu's wife, to his ashram, and he began to instruct her in spiritual life. Now, while she was being instructed, her son, who was in the womb, he was being educated. There is such a thing as prenatal consciousness. So when Prahlad was finally born, he was already educated in Krishna consciousness. So ladies, if you get pregnant, you should constantly be hearing kirtans, and you should be hearing lectures about Krishna, so that your baby, whether it's a boy or a girl, is already educated before they come out of the womb, right? And therefore, Prahlad, he was prenatal educated in the womb of his mother, and therefore he was a natural devotee. So fast forward 5-6 years, his father finally realized that his boy was a worshiper of Krishna. And because his brother Hiranyaksha had been killed by Krishna, Hiranyakashipu also was the enemy of Krishna. And when he realized that Prahlad was a natural devotee, he tried to kill his son. But everything he did to kill him failed. So then he got so frustrated, he said, my son must be some mystic yogi. Therefore, let me kill his god. So he asked Prahlad, where is your god? And Prahlad said, my dear father, Krishna is in the heart of every living entity, and he's also present everywhere, even in every atom of the universe. He said, oh yeah? Well, is he present right here? And he pointed to one column in his palace. He had a palace with 1,000 columns. He was a very rich man. And Prahlad said, yes, he's present everywhere. So Hiranyakashipu broke the column with his sword, and out came this gigantic half lion, half man, and began to roar and grabbed Hiranyakashipu, who was a gigantic man, put him on his lap and ripped his stomach apart with his nails, because he was a lion, and pulled out his gut and put it around his neck like a garland, and killed him. And Prahlad didn't even bat an eyebrow watching this. And when it was all over, to calm the Shringadev down, Prahlad put a garland of flowers on his neck, on the Lord's neck, and finally Lord Nrsingadev calmed down. And he said, my dear Prahlad, I'm so impressed by your surrender to me. And he said, ask me for any benediction and I'll give it to you. And Prahlad was a natural devotee. He said, my dear Lord, he said, I really don't need anything because I know how to chant Hare Krishna. I'm chanting your holy name always and trying to glorify you. But if you insist on giving me a benediction, then you just killed my father. Now you please save him and let him go back to Godhead. You see, Prahlad was a real devotee. He had no vengeance, he had no hatred. He was a well-wisher even of his enemy. This is something it's hard to imagine, but that is the nature of a devotee. A devotee does not have friends and enemies. He sees everyone as a potential servant of God, and therefore he tries to help people, even people that are his enemies. So Prahlad became a pure devotee by completely surrendering to the Lord, and because he was completely surrendered to the Lord, he was completely protected by the Lord. So this is your best protection in life. You can't keep your eyes on your children 24 hours a day. You take your eyes off your children, especially very young children, they could do something and get injured or even die in a few minutes. So in this way, the best protection is to be completely surrendered to God and be a devotee of the Lord. Then you're under the protection of the Lord. Everyone should understand this, because this is the fact that we have a tremendous potential, but because of modern education, we have been dumbed down and we're very restricted in what our potential is. Every one of us could become a Brahma or a Surya or a Varuna or a Chandra. That's because those people are like us, but who have perfected themselves by practicing Krishna consciousness. Now, they haven't attained the highest perfection because they're still in the material world like we are, but they have very, very high, powerful positions in the universe. Now, if someone becomes Surya, all these positions are called titular positions, just like the President of the United States is a titular position. It was Trump, now it's Joe Biden, and who knows who's going to be next. But it's never the same person. It's a position that a highly qualified person can attain. So the position of Surya, the position of Chandra, the position of Durga Mata, they're all titular positions. They are held by people who become highly advanced due to Krishna consciousness, but not perfect yet. So, but if they do those final major, let's say, responsibilities perfectly, they attain eternal liberation in the spiritual world. So we have a chance now, if by hearing this, we can open up our vista or open up our vision to understand that we have a much greater potential in this lifetime. And if we practice Krishna consciousness, you could be very quickly liberated from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Let me pick someone, this gentleman over here. Do you remember choosing to be born? Huh? Yeah, you. Yeah. Do you remember choosing to be born? You. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Let me ask the young lady there. Do you remember, are you choosing to get old? Okay. Sir, are you choosing to get sick? No. And madam, are you choosing to die? No. Okay. These are four things that we have not chosen. That means we're being forced. Now, have you ever asked the question, why am I being forced to be born, to get old, to get sick and die? Did any of you ever ask that question to yourself? Huh? Prabhu, did you ever ask that question?
Oh, I didn't hear
You
you.
didn't hear me? But you were sitting right here. Okay, raise your hand if you've been sitting here and you haven't heard one word I said, like Prabhuji. Right. You see, that's the problem. There was once a father who took his son every Sunday to the temple to listen to the pravachan by the pundit. And on one Sunday, the pundit was explaining how important it is to always be kind to cows. He said, because one of our dharmas in Hinduism is to be kind to cows. So he said, if you ever see a cow that's hungry, that's walking down the street and hungry, you should give it food. Never deny the cow food. So it just happens that this person, the father, was a baniya. He had a grain shop in the village. So on Monday morning, he and his son went to the grain shop as usual, and the son would take out all the sacks of grains, the dals and the rice and the chole and everything, and the father would be on the phone ordering things and making business. So that morning, a cow came down the street and was looking at the bales of grains, and the boy saw the cow, and he saw the cow was hungry. So he let the cow come and eat whatever he wanted. And the father was talking on the phone, and he opened his eyes and looked, and he saw, what? The cow's eating my grains. So he ran out and he chased the cow away, and he said to his son, what the heck are you doing? He said, you don't let the cows eat the grains? He said, Dad, yesterday we heard the pundits say that whenever a cow comes, we should feed it. He said, no, that's not what we should do. He said, you go to the temple, you say like this, you listen, you nod your head yes, but you don't follow what they say, you understand? You don't follow what they say. You know, he said, if you follow what they say, we'll go bankrupt. This is the state of Hinduism today. People are sitting here in the temple not listening to one word, and he's a pundit. Okay? This is the problem. We have to learn to listen. We have to learn to listen not to the news, not to the stock market, not to baseball, football, but to Sanatan Dharma knowledge. That's what we have to hear. And we have to be serious about it because it can save your life. It can give you eternal life. But if you don't listen, if you say, well, we just sit there and we look like we're listening, and we go, yeah, he's right, but don't listen to what he says. No, that's not Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam is you speak glorification of the Lord, and Kirtanam means you repeat it. And Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, about Lord Vishnu or Krishna. And then there's Shravanam. Then you begin to hear. So you begin to remember. So you speak, you repeat, and then you'll remember. So this is called Shruti. This is the way people were educated in India before. So then the Nrsingadev saved the life of Prahlad, and he blessed him. And Prahlad Maharaj remained a devotee the rest of his life, and he took the position of his father, not as a demon, but as the ruler of the demons and as the king of the whole universe for 30,000 years. So we see how powerful someone can become by becoming a genuine devotee of the Lord. So now we're going to hear 5 prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, and I will, and please repeat after me, and then I'm going to sing these prayers, and then we'll continue with the Havan. So, within my sinful heart, these are 5 prayers by the great devotee and poet Bhaktivinoda Thakura, and it's in Bengali, and it says, you can repeat, within my sinful heart, the 6 enemies, headed by lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and illusion, envy, and madness, perpetually reside, as well as duplicity or cheating, the desire for fame, plus sheer cunning. At the lotus feet of Lord Narasingha, I hope that he will mercifully purify my heart and give me the desire to serve Lord Krishna. Weeping, I will beg at the lotus feet of Lord Narasingha for the benediction of worshiping Radha and Krishna, perfectly safe and free from all difficulties. When will this Lord Hari, whose terrible form strikes fear into fear itself, ever become pleased and show me his mercy? See, the reason we are doing this program in the temple is so you can actually see Radha and Krishna right here. See, sometimes people say, well, I don't see God, so how do you expect me to believe in God? Well, now you're seeing him, so you have a real reason now to believe in God. You're seeing Krishna and Radha and Ram and Sita and Lakshman and Hanuman, and you're seeing the Shingadev and Prahlad Maharaj, and you're seeing Jagannath and Subhadra and Baladev. So you cannot say, I haven't seen God. You cannot say it anymore. You're seeing them right now. And you have a chance now of praying to the Lord as we're doing now. And the Lord appreciates that very much. So next, even though Shingha terrifying toward the sinful souls, he offers great auspiciousness unto the devotees of Lord Krishna, headed by Prahlad Maharaj. When will he be pleased to speak words of compassion unto me, a worthless fool, and thereby make me fearless? He will say, dear child, sit freely and live happily here in Sri Gauranga Dhamma. May you nicely worship the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, and may you develop loving attachment for their holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are cast far away. With a purified heart, just perform the worship of Radha and Krishna. For such worship overflows with sweet nectar. Saying this, will that Lord delightedly place his own divine lotus feet upon my head. I will experience sublime love for the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, and undergo the ecstatic transformations called sattvika. Falling on the ground, I will roll about at the door of Sri Nrsimha's temple. Gaura Premanandi, Haribo. Edusta Hridaye Kama Adiripu Chaya Kutinata Prististas Satya Sadaraya Hridaya Sudana Ara Krishnera Vasana Nrsimha Charana Mora Eto Kamana Kandiya Nrsimha Pade Majibo Kakana Nirapade Navadvipe Yugala Bhajana Baya Baya Paya Yanra Darsane Sari Hari Prasana Hoibo Kabe Muraduya Kari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Kandiya Nishingapade Majribo Kakana Nirapade Navadvipa Jugalaba Jana Baya Baya Paya Yanra Darsane Se Hari Prasana Hoibe Kabe More Daya Kari Bolo Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Bolo. Yadyapi Visana Murti Tusta Jiva Prapti Praladadi Krishna Bhakta Jane Bhadra Ati Kabiva Prasana Hoye Shri Kripa Vachana Nirbhaya Karibe Muda Akinchana Bolo Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Swachandi Baso He Vatsa Sri Goranga Dame Jugala Bhajane Ho Rati Ho Haname Mama Bhakta Kripa Bale Vigna Jabe Dura Sudachitte Bhajo Radha Krishna Rasa Pura Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Bolo. Eboli kabe mora mastaka upara Sriyashi charane harse darive ishwara Amani jugala prema satvika vikare Daraya lutibo amishi nishanga dware. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Eboli kabe mora mastaka upara Sriyashi charane harse daribe ishwara Amani jugala preme satvika vikara Daraya lutipo amishi nishinga dwara. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Bolo bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaura Premanande Ki Jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Go ahead. Okay. So now we are going to recite the 108 names of Lord Nrsingadev. Om Narasimhaya Namaha. Om Narasimhaya Namaha. Om Divya Simhaya Namaha. Om Mahabalaya Namaha. Om Ugra Simhaya Namaha. Om Ugra Simhaya Namaha. Om Mahadevaya Namaha. Om Stambhajaya Namaha. Om Ugralochanaya Namaha. Om Rudraya Namaha. Om Sarvabhutaya Namaha. Om Shrimanaya Namaha. Om Yoganandaya Namaha. Om Trivikramaya Namaha. Om Harine Namaha. Om Kolahalaya Namaha. Om Chakrine Namaha. Om Vijayaya Namaha. Om Jayavardhanaya Namaha. Om Panchanaya Namaha. Om Param Brahmaya Namaha. Om Agoraya Namaha. Om Goravikramaya Namaha. Om Jwalanmukaya Namaha. Om Jwalamaline Namaha. Om Mahajwalaya Namaha. Om Mahaprabhuhaya Namaha. Om Nitilakshaya Namaha. Om Sahasrakshaya Namaha. Om Durnilikekshaya Namaha. Om Pratamapanaya Namaha. Om Mahadramstraya Namaha. Om Yudya Pranjanaya Namaha. Om Chandrakopine Namaha. Om Sadashivaya Namaha. Om Hiranyakashipu Dvamsine Namaha. Om Daityadanava Vanjanaya Namaha. Om Gunabhadraya Namaha. Om Mahabhadraya Namaha. Om Balabhadraya Namaha. Om Subhadrakshaya Namaha. Om Karalaya Namaha. Om Vikaralaya Namaha. Om Vikartaya Namaha. Om Sarvakartikaya Namaha. Om Shishumaraya Namaha. Om Trilokatmaya Namaha. Om Ishaya Namaha. Om Sarveshwaraya Namaha. Om Vibhuyaya Namaha. Om Bhairvar Andambaraya Namaha. Om Divyaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Kavine Namaha. Om Madhavaya Namaha. Om Ahokshajaya Namaha. Om Aksharaya Namaha. Om Sarvaya Namaha. Om Vanamaline Namaha. Om Varapradaya Namaha. Om Vishwambaraya Namaha. Om Abhutaya Namaha. Om Bhavyaya Namaha. Om Shivishnave Namaha. Om Purushottamaya Namaha. Om Angagrastraya Namaha. Om Nakastraya Namaha. Om Surya Jyotine Namaha. Om Sureshwaraya Namaha. Om Sahasra Bahu Aya Namaha. Om Sarvagaya Namaha. Om Sarvasiddhi Pradayakaya Namaha. Om Vajradramstraya Namaha. Om Vajranakaya Namaha. Om Mahanandaya Namaha. Om Paramtapaya Namaha. Om Sarvamantraika Rupa Namaha. Om Sarvayantra Vidaramaya Namaha. Om Sarvatantra Makaya Namaha. Om Avyaktaya Namaha. Om Suvyaktaya Namaha. Om Bhaktavatsala Namaha. Om Vaishakha Sukla Bhutotaya Namaha. Om Saranagata Vatsalaya Namaha. Om Udara Kirtine Namaha. Om Punyatmaya Namaha. Om Mahatmaya Namaha. Om Chandra Vikramaya Namaha. Om Vedatrayaya Namaha. Om Prapujaya Namaha. Om Bhagavanaya Namaha. Om Parameshwaraya Namaha. Om Shivatsamkaya Namaha. Om Jagat Vyapine Namaha. Om Jaganmayaya Namaha. Om Jagat Pralaya Namaha. Om Jagannataya Namaha. Om Mahakagaya Namaha. Om Dvirupa Pritaya Namaha. Om Paratmataya Namaha. Om Param Jyotine Namaha. Om Nirgunaya Namaha. Om Nrikesharine Namaha. Om Paratatvaya Namaha. Om Paramdamaya Namaha. Om Satchitananda Vigrahaya Namaha. Om Lakshmi Nishinghaya Namaha. Om Sarvatmaya Namaha. Om Diraya Namaha. Om Pralada Palakaya Namaha. Shri Nishinga Bhagavan Ki Jai. Om Jaya Bhakti Vigna Vinasaya. Shri Nishinga Deva Bhagavan Hi Jaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dayini. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dayini. Hiranyakashipu Bhaksha Silatam Kanakalaye. Ito Nishinga Parato Nishinga Narashinga Madim Saranam Prapade. Bahina Shinga Hidayena Shinga Narashina Madim Saranam Prabhade. Tavakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Singham Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare. Keshavajita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare Jaya Jagadesha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol, 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 Gora Haribol. Nitai Gora Haribol, Haribol, Gora Haribol, Nitai Gora Haribol, Nitai Gora Haribol, Haribol, Gora Haribol, Gora Haribol, Nitai Gora Premanande Ki Jai. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 1 second. Om Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagatitaya Krishnaya. Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagatitaya Krishnaya. Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagatitaya Krishnaya. Govindaya Namo Namaha. Please repeat after me. Okay. Please repeat after me. Oh, my dear Lord Krishna, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. Vishnu Puranam. The purport is that special mention is given in this prayer for the protection of the cows and the brahmanas. Brahmanas are the symbol of spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food, milk. These two living creatures, the brahmanas and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood then that human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next life is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger. What's the greatest danger? In your next life, you'll end up with a tail, 4 legs, and a wet snout. In other words, you'll be a dog. So be very careful. Don't eat meat. Don't take any intoxicant, including kava and coffee and chai. Chai is the curse of the British on the Hindus. And lassi. Yes. And then also, the British have cursed the Hindus with 3 things: dalda, maida, and chai and coffee. You see, that's why today there's an epidemic of high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart problems in India. Am I right? Yeah. And also, eating meat, gambling, taking intoxication, and engaged in illicit activities. All these things will ruin your life. And therefore, we should be very careful to follow all the rules and regulations of Sanatana Dharma. there are 4 yamas and 4 niyamas, or 4 things we should never do, and 4 things we should do every day. Number 1, 4th thing you should never do is eating meat, fish, eggs, machli, or murgi. Some people think, oh, murgi is okay. It's not okay. It's very bad for you. Then, secondly, to take intoxicants like kava and medical marijuana or non-medical marijuana, or all those drugs. Next is to gamble. Gambling and speculation on the stock market, both are actually sins. And then next is engaged in illicit sexual activity. And next is to be addicted to drugs, different types of drugs. Okay, so the 4 things that you should do every day is, number 1, chant the holy names of God, especially the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The meaning of this mantra means, man means the mind, tra means deliverance of the mind from ignorance. This mantra, the meaning is, oh dear Radharani, she's referred to as Hare, and oh dear Krishna, and oh dear Lord Ramachandra, please protect me so I can always be engaged in your seva, your service. This is the meaning of the prayer. If you say this prayer regularly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna will protect you. And Krishna will give you knowledge by which you can come closer and closer to Him and follow the rules and regulations of spiritual life and eventually go back to Godhead even in this lifetime. So if you want to not die, to not get old, to not get sick, and repeat this over and over again, birth after birth, get serious right now to chant Hare Krishna. Eat only Mahaprasadam. That means you cook sattvic food, no dalda, no maida, no different types of intoxicants, etc. And simply sattvic food in the mode of goodness, and prepare it with love and devotion for Krishna, and offer it with prayers to the Lord, and He'll offer it back as His prasad. Prasad, your body should be made of prasad, not of fish and meat and chicken and all those things. It should be made of prasad. That way you're blessed, and Krishna will always protect you and help you. Okay, so now we'll finish our Havan. We're going to do Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Bolo. Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Bhaja Pyare tu Sita Ram. Bolo. Jayo Raghunandana Jaya Siya Ram Janaki Vallabha Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Bhaja Pyare tu Sita Ram. Dasarata ke dulare Ram, Kaushalya ke pyare Ram. Bolo Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Baj pyare tu Sita Ram. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Bolo. Hey, Bolo Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Bolo. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Baj pyare tu Sita Ram. Bolo Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Baj pyare tu Sita Ram. Bolo Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Baj pyare tu Sita Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Ki Jai. Govinda chale aao, Gopala chale aao. 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Govinda chale aao, Gopala chale aao. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Na Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Rama. Hey, bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Premanande Ki Jai.
Welcome everybody here tonight on this special occasion of birthday of Hari. He's 1 year old. Maharaj is in the wedding of
Haribol. So the way we celebrate wedding anniversaries here and birthdays is by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Okay, so now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hey, bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Hey, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Radhe Shyam, Jai Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. Bolo Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. Bolo Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Hey, Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Hey, bolo Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Hey, Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Bolo Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Hey, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Bolo Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Bolo Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal, Jai Govinda, Jai Gopal. Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. Bolo Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Sitaram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hey bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Premanandi ki Jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki Jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki Jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai, Jagannath Subhadra Baladeva ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Maharani ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare. Hey, bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, bolo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Mila Madhava Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaur Premanandi Ki Jai. So we want to thank everyone that came tonight, celebrating the first anniversary birthday of Arif Prabhu. So we want to thank Arif's father and Arif's grandfather and their great-grandfather and great-great-grandfathers also for bringing such a wonderful young Vaishnava boy into this world. Go to Premanandi Haribol. Go to Premanandi Haribol. Vaishnava Charani Ki Jai. Go to Premanandi Haribol. Okay, come here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go to Premanandi Haribol. Krishna Matir Astu. May you always remember Krishna. Krishna Madarpanam Astu. May you offer all your services to Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribol. Thank you very much.
So we have youngest grandpa here from Portland want to say a few words before we all depart from here. Thank you, Maharaj. Mr. Rani Kitan Das ji.
Mr. Rani. We have a microphone for you, Prabhu.
Sound check 1 2.
नमां विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने. So first of all, we want to thank everyone for being present here tonight, and especially His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj for gracing the occasion with his auspicious presence. And all of us who are here tonight have witnessed taken darshan of deities, have heard kirtan. And now it's an opportunity to imbibe the mood and carry on in our life with what we have just heard from the great authorities, from the Bhagavad Gita, the song of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and sung by His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj. So we have everything that we need to grow in bhakti. And this Arif, his first year birthday, is just reminding us that time's running short. We celebrate birthdays, but essentially we are nearing one step closer to the final moment. And we should realize that every time, whether it's somebody's anniversary, birthday we go to or otherwise, time's running short, we have only limited time. So chant Hare Krishna and be happy, as Srila Prabhupada used to say. What is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra we should chant? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And in the end, I'd like to seek forgiveness. So if there is any delays, anything that would have impeded people from sitting down here for long duration, please forgive the hosts. And there is sumptuous Mahaprasadam there, organized by Rajrishi Prabhu and family, and temple devotees here. So thank you again to all the devotees at the temple that have done the yajna. Shivas Prabhu and Harivilas Maharaj was there, and you are assisting in the yajna process. So thank you, and all the cooks also. Those who have done, and cleaners, and
Forgot
the dishwashers, as Maharaj. Yes. So thank you, everybody. Nitai Gaut Premanande. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Holiness Bhakti. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much for coming tonight. We are here every day. Every day we have 6 artis a day, 6 offerings of food and boga to the deities, and 6 times Mahaprasadam. So don't be strangers. Come and get your full fill of Mahaprasadam and Maha Sankirtan and Maha Pravachan. Haribol. Thank you very much. Please have prasad now. Hey, Mr. Pawan, how are you? Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare Krishna. Ama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Bhakti Smart Bhakti Smart. Hare Bol. Your sister.
Came from Sydney.
Oh. You have a good sister? She has a good sister also.